Welcome! I am Jennifer Hale, 4-decade veteran of the industry, founder of acting.skillshub.life, and I am so excited! I am here with Tom Dheere, an incredible voiceover veteran who is one of my favorite go-to people about the business of this industry. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you for having me, Jen.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about genres, and one of Tom's specialties is genre exploration. Tom teaches a fantastic class about this on the site, and it drives me crazy to watch people leaving money on the table. What does that mean? Overlooking sources of income that you could be easily tapping while you're on your way to your shiny object dream of that animated series or that amazing game project. Because those projects are incredible, but there's all the time in between projects and all the time while you're waiting to build to that. And Tom, can you talk a little bit about the mistakes you see people making in this area and what the possibilities are?
I would be happy to. A lot of people come into the voiceover industry because they have a certain calling. These days, the calling is to be in cartoons and video games. So basically everyone who has ever watched a cartoon or played a video game is trying to be a cartoon and video game voice actor right now, which is great, which is amazing. There is plenty of room for everybody that knows what they're doing. However, that also means that a lot of people coming into the industry come in with horse blinders on. They have this one thing, anime or bust, video games or bust, which is great. If that's your dream, Jen and I and all the members of the Skills Hub family will do everything we can to help make your dreams come true. However, there's this pesky little thing called a reality. And the reality of it is that it takes lots of training, lots of study, lots of research, lots of time, lots of energy, lots of self-discipline, lots of self-exploration and self-acceptance. And doing all that takes a lot of time, and it takes money, and it takes other, non-financial resources. But while you're going on your journey of becoming an anime or a video game or a cartoon voice actor, there are so many other genres of voiceover out there that are not what I call audition and pray gigs. Audition and pray gigs are commercials, cartoons, video games, imaging, promo, in-show narration, where you do one audition, hopefully you get that one gig, you book it, the gig is done, the check clears, and then that's that. Sometimes it's, a season of an advertising for Pepsi or, Nike or Jell-O, or sometimes it's a season of a cartoon, but usually it's very, very finite. With all the other genres in voiceover, e-learning, corporate, medical narration, explainer, industrial, audiobook, and others, work begets work. One audition may not just equal one booking, it can equal 10 or 15 or 20 or 100 bookings that you don't have to audition for. So while you're pursuing that dream of voiceover, you can make a good living in these other non-broadcast, informational types of genres that can help fund your training and your website and your home recording and your demo and your marketing in the genres of your dream.
And eventually your rent, your vacation.
Yes. And all that, your trips to Hawaii, all that.
Yeah, we love that. Yeah, when I first started, and I guess I should talk about this more when I'm talking out in the world, because so many of the voice actors in the world right now are working in the non-union space. It's where we start. If you're not in a major market, it doesn't always make sense to join the union because you've got to pay your bills. When I started, we didn't even have agents in the town I was in. I went door to door with my demo, cold calling ad agencies to book local car commercials, and it's just what you talked about. Once it was barely an audition. It was like a listen to my demo tape and hire me kind of a situation. But once I got the announcer role on one of these, then I suddenly had a series of 5 spots to do that they adapted for 4 different markets. So lo and behold, it was 20 spots, and it was a small, non-union rate, but it worked. And I would drive over all around the Southeast, working jobs, doing corporate training videos, doing trade shows, doing narration for this or that, doing Jim Bob's TV store, wearing camouflage overalls for car dealers, doing print, doing all of it. And that's a way to put together a living. And it's a great way to cut your chops for that high-end work later where the pressure goes up and up and up.
Yes, absolutely. There is more than one definition of voiceover success, and nobody's journey to get to their definition of voiceover success is the same as anybody else's. Everybody's journey is unique, and it depends on where you live. It depends on your vocal quality. It depends on the training that you've had. It depends on the genres that you've been exposed to. So everybody thinks that success in the voiceover industry is vertical, and it's this ladder or path or track that goes just in this one direction. That is not the voiceover journey. The voiceover journey is all over the place, because the last gig you did isn't necessarily the lowest paying gig you ever got, and the next gig that you get isn't necessarily the highest paying gig that you will ever get. You go all over the place, and that's the thing with genre exploration. Genres have different rate structures. I mean, I can do a national commercial for T-Mobile, and then I can do like one phone prompt of one line for one architectural firm in, Schenectady for a telephony gig, and I get, a couple of bucks for that, and then the next day it's a completely different set. And that's part of what makes voiceover so interesting too. So the vision that you may have in your head of this, climbing the ladder and, getting to some certain kind of American Idol definition, contest, competition definition of success, that's not reality. It's glacier-like, and it's going all over the place, and there's nothing wrong with that. But exploring other genres gives you more of a solid financial base to make the journey a little more stable, to make your footing a little surer as you are going to what your definition of your voiceover dream is.
Yeah. I think that definition is so important, because those jobs, one of the things I love about that area of the industry is that it's not what they call gatekeeper work. You don't have to have an agent to book it. You can go out and generate that work yourself. There's a greater sense of control over it, and you can have little victories when you adjust your definition of VO success to include that work and to acknowledge yourself for what you're doing there. You have a lot of agency. You get that feeling of greater power and control over your own destiny. Yeah. Just to enlighten people, can you run down what some of the genres are? So for people who are really new and maybe not as familiar.
Sure. I break down genres into two major categories: broadcast and non-broadcast. So broadcast, the obvious one is advertising, commercials. We're talking for television, we're talking radio, digital, streaming. And we're talking commercials, public service announcements, political spots, automotive spots. Also on broadcast, there is promoting, like, tonight on the news, this, and that. Imaging on the radio, you're listening to, WDHA, New Jersey's Rock, that sort of thing. Most cartoons are broadcast because they're on television or streaming. And then the non-broadcast, we're talking audiobooks, e-learning, which in the umbrella of e-learning is corporate narration, industrial narration, medical narration. There's a whole genre of explainer videos, which is like these 90-second things where you explain a product, a service, or a business, which are non-broadcast. Audio description, where you're helping the visually impaired enjoy a television show or a movie or an opera or a play or a museum. And then there's museum tours, there's museum kiosks, there's real estate virtual tours, there's announcements at casinos and airports and buses and subways. I mean, it's practically endless, the amount of stuff that you can get into, both broadcast and non-broadcast.
We're everywhere.
We are.
You can be us. You are us. Yeah, sometimes people, I think, have a preconceived notion that you have to sound a certain way to be. You have to have this kind of a voice to do those sorts of things. Yep. Can you talk a little bit about what works today?
Well, when I decided I wanted to be a voice actor in the 90s, I thought I needed to sound like James Earl Jones. I do not sound like James Earl Jones. I'm over 50 and I still sound like I'm trying to get served at a bar. So when the industry told me that my work was e-learning narration, specifically English as a second language, ESL, or now known as ELL, English Language Learner narration, where I'm almost always playing the role of a college student, the first gig I got was 1997. I am still working with that client today, almost 30 years later. So if anybody that has a voice, the people that hear the voiceover can be the voiceover, because it used to be, yes, only guys that looked like me and sounded like this. And now it's anybody and everybody of every age and every gender, every ethnicity, every orientation. There is room for everybody. However, you need the ability to be a storyteller. And I'm not talking once upon a time storyteller. Every story, every voiceover, whether it's a 15-hour audiobook or a 15-second used car spot, it has a beginning, a middle, an end, an arc, and a message. So the vocal quality it's 10% of the game. The other 90% is the ability to be an effective storyteller, to engage and connect with your audience and seek your author's truth, which means if you have good training, like you could get here at Skills Hub, anybody that has there is a level of raw talent, along with storytelling skill, layered upon which is voiceover 101 skill, microphone, breath technique, copy interpretation, layered on that with genre awareness, commercials versus audiobooks versus e-learning narration, you can be an effective storyteller. And that's the goal, to be an effective storyteller. Because the fanciest voice in the world, if you don't know what to do with that instrument, it doesn't matter. Being an effective storyteller is everything.
Such a good point. Oh my goodness, I could talk to you all day. We have the best people on skillshub.life. I love it so much. For those of you who are interested in learning more about what Tom's talking about, or who want to dive into this topic more deeply, you can find him at acting.skillshub.life/coaches, and feel free to hit him up. And you're a treasure trove, Tom. Tom is one of my favorite people to go to for building the essential other half of this career. The first piece, and it's honestly less than half, is your skill set. People will maybe take issue with that, but you can have the greatest product in the world. If you don't have a business built and a system to get that product out to buyers, you're not going anywhere. And that is one of Tom's greatest, most powerful areas of expertise. So Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Always great to talk to you.